To the Batmobile. Let's go.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
So where were you living?
Like a ship in a storm, I soon found myself hopelessly adrift. I was constantly tossed back and forth. Sometimes I lived at Yvonne's house. Other moments I crashed at Joel's house, and my manager Damon also gave me a place to stay. When I found that things were good, smooth and manageable between Yvonne, obviously I would stay with her. Then when things inevitably turned rocky, Joel or Damon would offer me safe harbor. It was impossible to hide my stress from my boss Damon. He was my good friend and off and on housemate. He was very kind to allow me to stay in his walk-in closet. It seemed as if I found myself living in a fucking nightmare that I could not wake up from. The toll of the depression and stress began to weigh heavily on me. I knew that my fucked up, different living conditions were not good for my physical and mental health. I was in serious danger of losing my main job at the shop. Due to my mounting anxiety, I could not sleep well, and I would often stay awake all night. Many a night, I would go outside for long walks. I found that I did this in order to relieve some of the stress, but I also did not want to interrupt Damon at home while he rested. Damon coined a nickname for me at the time. He started to call me Batman. He told me that it only made sense as if I lived in his dark walk-in closet, stayed out late at night and tried to fight this case, all the while being my own lawyer and private investigator. He and I both knew I was not well rested and I was unfit for work. Anyone other than Damon would have summarily fired me.
You're fired.
I will always be grateful to Damon. He exhibited faith in me, saw the shitty situation I found myself in, gave me freely of assistance, food, money, shelter, moral support, and of course, he allowed me to hold on to my job. I felt an incredible amount of guilt for all the help I was receiving. To add fuel to the fire, I ignorantly chose to disregard the understanding and sympathetic advice from my friends when they told me to stay the fuck away from Yvonne and let the courts handle it. My main problem with that advice was that I knew the courts did not see the case for what it really was. Yvonne, for some reason, was caught being a two-faced bitch, telling me one thing and the Crown an entirely different version of events. Finally, one day, the stress and the guilt got so bad, I decided to take all I had and headed down to the local police station. I walked in and I sat on a hard bench inside the police station. I was scared shitless, man. First and foremost, in order to begin this process, I would have to admit that I had collected and gathered evidence since the first appearance. This would involve the fact that I would need to admit breaking the no contact order. I foolishly decided to turn myself in. I hoped that if I threw myself upon the sword, the case would be looked at for what it actually was and would finally be settled. Man, I started to cry profusely. The type of crying that was uncontrollable. Rivers of snot flying down my face, tears cascading from my eyes. At my most vulnerable moment, a hand touched my head and a female voice asked, "What's the matter?" I looked up at her name tag and identified her as Constable Porteous. It was all that I could do to gain some sort of composure, and I said to her, "I'm here to turn myself in." She obviously looked surprised, and she knew that she was obligated to take my statement. So she took us to a small room, and when I look back on it today, I'm not entirely sure if what I said was ever recorded, but I tried to explain to her the whole story up to that point. She didn't care at all to see my evidence, but she did advise me not to go near Yvonne or have any more contact with her. She gave me her business card and told me to call her if Yvonne ever called me at work again. I assumed she felt her hands were tied. She did not take me into custody because she knew at that time it was all before the courts. Constable Porteous sent me on her way with a new warning in her business card. But though I did see Constable Porteous one more time after our first meeting. It was about a month and a half after our first meeting, she walked into our tuxedo shop where I worked. I honestly just about shit myself.
You shit yourself? Oh no.
I was sure that she was there to arrest me, that Yvonne had said or done something else to darken the situation. I felt a sense of relief that it would be her to place me under arrest. Much to my happy surprise, she presented a day planner that was full of my tuxedo business cards and asked, "Did you lose this?" I was in total shock. I no doubt white as a ghost. I thanked her and explained that I misplaced it earlier that morning. I guess we both went for coffee at the same place, for I left it behind at the cafe that I used to go to before work, and I left it on top of the phone booth at the cafe. She was happy to return it to me. I don't think she recognized me because I was all cleaned up in my suit and tie at work. It was just a startling coincidence. One of many more unbelievable coincidences yet to come. She left the shop and I headed back to the bathroom to clean the pile of shit out of my pants.